Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Let's dive into the future of paid social advertising, specifically looking at some key trends to watch out for in 2024. I know that a lot of agencies and brands are working on their 2024 strategy, so I think this is a perfect time to have this conversation, and I hope that this provides you with some value that you can integrate into your strategies. I want to focus on audience strategy. I believe as data privacy rules continue to shape the industry and native hyper targeting capabilities become less accessible, what should our approach be in 2024? Well, I think for starters, what we should start doing is qualifying our audiences before we launch our campaigns. And what do I mean by that? What I've witnessed in my career is that many businesses use social almost as a tool to do cheap market research on their audiences. And they want to use campaign cost and measurement studies as a qualifier of audience relevancy, almost like their primary qualifier, instead of doing that market research beforehand. So, for example, if we target an audience within a campaign and the brand sees that the CPC is in line with the goal range, then that could give them an indicator that they're targeting the right people. However, once we start to look under the hood at other KPIs such as time spent on the website and conversions, and we see that they're underperforming, it can cause a lot of confusion. Say, oh, well, I thought we were targeting the right audiences. What happened? Well, that's an indicator that we actually aren't targeting the right people. So this audience just was big enough to scale out. That's why we were able to get a cheap CPC. Your true audience may have a CPC that sometimes like double the amount that you have as your goal, but as a result, they supply a ROI that balances this out. So this is why it's important to do the market research beforehand. Know what platforms your audience over indexes at and know what their general interests and behaviors are. Take that information and do the best that you can to translate that within your targeting. This will allow us to drive true ROI and skip a lot of the pitfalls that come with using social as like an audience learning tool. And this kind of bleeds into my next point is we want to start embracing broad contextual targeting. Sometimes it's not about being so literal with your targeting, right? I think a lot of businesses and brands, if they've done market research or if they have knowledge on their audiences, they want to get very like granular down to the finite keyword that their audience may be, interested in. However, it's usually more important to know whether we're getting the performance outcomes and ROIs that we're looking for versus saying we need to be hyper targeted on certain keywords. So, what we need to do in that approach is we need to look at social audience targeting as a way to target content categories that people engage with. We need to stop approaching social as like a replacement of SEM targeting. It's not really a keyword based platform, and it doesn't do well when we get too granular with contextual targeting because it actually limits how flexible the algorithm can be at finding the right people outside of these very granular keywords. And it's important to give the platform that flexibility to find the right people within the content topics that people are interested in. People engage with different types of content every day. So if we get too granular, what if people aren't engaging with that piece of that content or that keyword that day? Then you're missing out on that audience because you got a little too narrow. So once we found the right mix of audience targeting and performance outcomes, it's a great idea to then use audience expansion tools to scale out our audiences to similar people without having to build out new audiences. What I often see brands doing is saying, okay, once we tapped out this specific audience, how can we recreate it but like in a different way? How do we recycle this audience into another ad set? That it's not the most ideal approach, right? We don't want to have four different ad sets with the same audience but just a different variant of it. What we want to do is we want to target unique audiences, right? We want to have four different ad sets of purely unique audiences that are different from each other, because what will happen is if we're targeting a variant of the same audience within each ad set, we're actually increasing the chance of overlap. And that's going to increase your campaign costs. It's going to decrease your overall performance outcomes. And we want to make sure that we avoid that at all costs, no pun intended. And like, I think overall, like, not every campaign needs to be used as a learning experience, right? Sometimes we just need to focus on getting the right performance outcomes, even if that means that the audience strategy isn't like one to one with our market research. We have to figure out what's important and what's the goal of this campaign, and keep that in mind and design the framework around achieving that goal versus trying to use it to do multiple things. So let's talk about ways that we can hyper target our audience with confidence. That's less reliant on native in platform targeting. And this is where we start to lean into third party data providers like Oracle. These third party partners have built like these huge data sets around using retailer and customer data. So if we do want to get super narrow, let's start tapping into these third party data providers a lot more. They're very important, and they can help us increase that confidence that we need, that we are targeting the exact people that we need. And let's also use creator content. Let's partner with creators within our industry. And when we use in-platform tools such as like the branded content partnership and Spark Ads on TikTok, we can then expand our reach to these creators' audience. So this also helps us build authentic connections and credibility with our audience. And these things also drive more optimal performance outcomes. And so in conclusion, I believe that our 2024 audience strategy would benefit from using like things like broader audience strategies and machine learnings to optimize our results. I believe that advertisers who embrace these trends will set themselves up for success in the upcoming year. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that you found some value in this. I love to talk about topics in relation to paid social specifically. I love to talk about strategy. I like to talk about trends, new platforms, anything within the space. I have a huge passion for it. So if you want to chat more with me, feel free to send me a message and I'll get back to you. All right, thanks. Have a good weekend.